Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ace Nectar Heroes of the Storm casting podcast. I'm still Ektar, and he's still Ace, and Ace, we're casting Heroic tonight.
Yeah, and we're also casting for the first time in 2 weeks because I was sick and would be actively detrimental to your cast. So instead, you had such guests on as Irakath.
Yep, guest singular. The two of us did one cast in that 2-week period while you were ill, and I have not opted to do another one. Not because of any.
Didn't you do Alert Patrol 1?
Did I?
Last second? I forget.
Was that not the one I? Was that not the one I did with
Maybe
her?
you did. Maybe you did. Maybe I'm crazy.
I'm pretty sure I've only done one cast without you this season.
11 days and 17 days.
Yep.
All right.
Not that there's, of course, anything wrong with Raka. She is one of my favorite people in NGS, but I mean, there's just something to be said for keeping it consistent with the usual co-caster. It's just very comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, comfort is what it's all about here, and we are a little bit out of our comfort zone. Your overlay says D West. You might want to change that before these teams kill you.
I never remember to change division.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we are a little bit out of the comfort. We usually don't go above our own division too much, but we're here today with Vendetta versus the Phoenix Rising Esports here out of the Heroic division.
Yeah.
So it should be a really a nice high-level match here for us this evening.
Which I'm always... I say always, we don't do Heroic very often, but I am excited because we've often taken on a somewhat critical mean when doing casting. I like to comment, what I think teams are doing well, and what I think they're doing maybe not so well. Here, probably they're going to be doing more things well than normal, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what I can learn from these two teams. Before we get into the draft, which has just barely started, we'll go through the picks and bans real fast, and I have them updated incorrectly, because I do this all the time, and therefore don't make mistakes at it. We had Towers of Doom and Ultrac Pass getting banned out by Vendetta, who were the losers of the coin toss. Phoenix Rising Esports opting for first hero pick, and also for banning out Brax's holdout and Tomb of the Spider Queen. And we are going to that most standard of Heroes of the Storm standard maps, Infernal Shrines, for map number 1, and not to Towers of Doom, which I originally had showing.
Yeah, it's... As you say, it's the standard of the standard, and that's definitely... it has been the most popular map in NGS for seasons now, and...
It is the most popular in every season I've cared to look for the information on.
Yeah, that's a long time, as the history of heroes increases in amount of time. Looking at the bans, we've got Diva and Anubret coming out from PR. And I will end up swapping between PR, PRE, and Phoenix Rising, so woo.
They refer to themselves as PR1, but that's not their team ticker, so I will likely not remember that one in particular, and I am sorry in advance for that. So talking about the bans that we got, the new ban is actually definitely a target ban, as it is the most played tank by Vendetta, as well as Hogger being the most played offlaner by Phoenix Rising Esports, so no surprise to see the bans getting picked out, except I guess for the Diva ban. That one's the only one I didn't really have represented in their historic data too much, but the other three are all well played by the respective teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of what is kind of the high-level meta as it goes. It's a lot more about the target picks and target bans rather than the more generic bans, which you don't see Nazebo being first picked or first banned here, as you may be seeing otherwise in your Storm League games.
Yeah, don't get us wrong, Nazebo's still a strong hero, but there's a lot more to be said for team cohesion and individual playmakeability and just skill. So maybe you don't necessarily always see the pretty good in the meta heroes. Of course, when you have something broken like on release rework Jim Raynor or any of those other really strong meta-defining heroes,
after the update,
Vala after post rework, yeah.
Who's the other one that was insane?
I mean, there've been a couple.
I had like the 60 something. Oh, Zagara.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, Zag. when she was broken. You definitely still see the meta-defining picks like that, but at the moment, things are a little bit more settled out. There's nothing quite just breaking the bank open right now.
Nazeeba is strong, as you said, 52-53 win rate, but that's not broken tiers of powerful.
No, certainly not. Ooh. This is something we actually see several times coming out from Vendetta. They like a beefy front line. They've run Leoric Deathwing plus traditional main tank a couple of times in the past, or at least comps like that. And they've ran into pretty good success, so I'm really liking to see this, selfishly, because our team, Platform, has been running like beefy frontline comps recently and having a lot of success for it, so I'm really excited to see a team better than us doing it, hopefully to success. Although I think Zul'jin is a really strong pick against it, because at the moment there's no amazing way to just get onto Zul'jin and punish him from auto-attacking his heart out, and you know, if Zul'jin gets to auto-attack his heart out, he will auto-attack your heart out as well.
Yeah, those axes cut a little deep if you let them. And Imperius picked up for the offlane. Not quite as important of an offlane map as some of the others, so you can afford a little less wave clear, but instead, Vendetta going for the opposite approach, going to pick up the Zool last, who has probably the best wave clear out of the melee heroes that exist, and definitely the best follow-up push as well. So 3 melee characters plus a Stukov to be a healer. I don't really consider the healer to be a melee sometimes. And
you know what though, Stukov has been run as a main tank in CCL, so they have in theory 4 main tanks and a gray main. I don't think that's what we're going to see.
I don't think that's how that works here, Ektar.
Look, you've been trying to get me to listen to Cavalier Guest for a while now, and you know what? I haven't, but that sounds like something he would say.
Everything can be a main tank, but everything cannot be a main tank simultaneously.
This is true, and I definitely think that the Zool will be the main tank in this game, although... Nope, no, I was thinking of the wrong team. Genji Boy was definitely the main tank for PRE in every match that I saw from them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think it should be Zool main tank.
Maybe Deathwing.
We've seen Deathwing and Leoric main tanks as well, so we really are just going to have to see how they decide to play things out. Spawning on the left-hand side in the Cyan trunks, they are Vendetta, with SCH playing the Leoric, Danielson playing the Grey Man, Indigo Zap playing the Zool, Geosaurus playing the Stukov, and Zalo Jack 01 playing the Deathwing.
You got the fun names today, Ektar. On the right side of the map, in the orange trunks, we have Phoenix Rising Esports, with Shredded Wind playing Brightwing, Split 2 Ends on Junkrat, Batmang on Imperius, Genji Boy on Johanna, and Alfie playing Zul'jin.
I'm actually really excited by this. Shredded Wind was one of the first really good healer players that I watched when I was trying to learn how to get better, so this is exciting to me. SCH stepping up, putting a little bit of damage into Batmang, but taking a fair bit of damage as well from Alfie, who popped the 1 immediately just to get that immediate bump in auto-attack damage and speed.
Yep, very interesting looking at the level 1 talents. We do have the Bone Slicer on Zul'jin, which is, I think, a very solid pick here, of course, because it allows him, at level 16, to ignore the armor, or at least benefits the build that allows him to cut armor at level 16, which will obviously be very important against Deathwing and the other armored heroes of Vendetta. But in the meantime, ooh, nice save there from Shredded Wind. Just barely gets the port off in time and saves Alfie.
So we end up seeing a 4-man rotate in just the bottom lane. We've got Zool rotating mid-top, which is very unusual for this map, but it is something that has been done before. And it allows them a lot of control in this bottom lane, which is going to allow them early priority onto this camp. And their opponents have only 3 heroes down here, so they're going to get some axe stacking done, but they can't even hope to contest this camp.
No, they really can't. There's not going to be a whole lot that Phoenix Rising Esports can do early, even if they have an equal number of players, because Zul'jin is such a late game, mid to late game hero. So really going to be a little bit of a tough one for them to do really anything early.
And I like that they have the multiple sort of good tanking bruiser heroes because Zul's missing a little bit of the XP, so they had the Leoric just go in and catch it. Big invade coming in from Vendetta. As they step onto the point, and really no contest coming out from Phoenix Rising Esports. They had taken 80% of the damage, but still lose the camp, and that is 3 camps to 0 in favor of Vendetta very early in the game.
Yeah, that's just a smart play, as we're saying. There's not a whole lot PRE can do early. Zul'jin isn't in chunk mode yet, and what's Junkrat going to do to get Deathwing off of a point? Absolutely nothing. So they take their invade time and really look in control of this early game, Ektar.
Yeah, and even as they rotate 2 heroes out, because they have such incredible wave clear, and even rotating the Zul down to augment that as well, they're not even missing out on the rotation. They're winning in rotations 2v4 right now. It's a little bit hyperbolic to say that, but not that hyperbolic.
Yeah, I mean, the wave clear is so incredibly good. Even without Neil Peasants, as Leoric is holding his level 4, actually just took the Paralyzing Rage for the extra slow. Leoric and Zul both have incredible wave clear to make it happen.
Yep. There is Imperius in the top lane who is working to try and take out that Shaman camp, give him a little bit of priority in the top lane, but Imperius isn't very good at it. Sorry to say, Archangel of Wrath, it's just not your shtick. We do have Zul still in the top lane, so really trying to make sure they get extra wave clear pressure. He is going to get engaged upon here by Alfie, but he should be able to escape just fine, it looks like, and this is a lot of additional priority on the objective in favor of Vendetta. Really playing very well, it feels like, in the early phases of this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing their this early game very, very well and leveraging their advantage as well, and it's going to lead them to a first Punisher here, pushing into the bottom lane, and it is a frozen Punisher, so lots of capability for locking down buildings and trying to make push out of it, which really only Greymane does well. They've got good wave clear, but maybe not as good of siege damage.
Yeah, but Deathwing is still pretty decent. Ooh, we have a disconnect coming out from the Stuka over there. We'll have to see if that ends up coming into play. His name's there, so it looks like it was just a very temporary disconnect. Deathwing doesn't siege amazingly, but he's got great potential follow-up to a Punisher jump, and very good just kill pressure, so finding a kill is another way to augment your siege potential for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And so yeah, bottom wall is the only thing that went down there. Well still remains in the bottom lane, so good defense here from Phoenix Rising, as they're going to go ahead and try and normalize out these lanes. They've caught up in XP, so, you know, as much as we've said, the early game's been favoring Vendetta, Phoenix Rising Esports doing a good job sticking in it and, you know, staying even on the XP amounts.
Thank you for the follow, Haas. Hopefully you are an actual account and not one of the many bots that I've been seeing recently.
Those are the bots.
Yeah.
All of those accounts are bots. Feels bad.
Alright, so there's not a great way for me to report it right now, so I am just going to continue on as though nothing happened and take care of it later. Camp's getting taken in the bottom lane by Vendetta, camp down the right-hand side being taken by PRE, and looks like both teams are looking to try and deal with their opponent's camp very quickly. We saw Gidgeboy and Alfie trying to make an engagement onto Danielson, not quite finding what they were looking for. SCH and Deathwing putting a ton of damage into Alfie is going to be able to waddle out of there and get a nice big ol' heal from Shredded Wind. We've got Batman in the bottom lane, so it is a 5 versus 4 in favor of Phoenix Rising Esports, but they don't find the engagement they're looking for, and so they're just going to have to back out and kind of just walk away without having accomplished anything.
Yep, and now the reverse gank is out. Level 10, so not quite available, just a tick away for Vendetta. I was wondering if they're trying to grab like a minion to be able to rip the Entomb or not, but was not able to find it fast enough. But that does pick up level 10s for both sides, so neither team with a huge advantage, and looking at it, it does seem pretty standard across the board.
Yep. Go for the throat. It is, I wouldn't necessarily say the standard, but I think it's what you expect to see in a composition like what they drafted. We do have the Frost Mages, which also, I don't know if it is the standard, but it is definitely, I think, what you would draft here. Rocket Ride, which has started to become the standard, and is just incredibly powerful if you can land it. And with as much potential lockdown as PRE have, you could definitely see them land it.
And it also helps escape an Entomb, so the Entomb targets get reduced by 1. Nice combo onto the Stukov, makes that first blood of the game. Entomb with the Molten Breath does a lot of damage, but Phoenix Rising Esports is still doing well. Indigo Zap going to go ahead, mount up, and escape, so Rocket Ride's going to get siege damage value. SCH, second to be taken out, and it looks like Phoenix Rising Esports in the driver's seat for this second objective.
They sure are. And it kind of shows you, like, yeah, we've been saying this whole time that Vendetta is an early game comp, and as soon as level 10s hit, Phoenix Rising took a very convincing teamfight. There actually hadn't been any kills before that teamfight, but there was still a lot of damage and position advantage in favor of Vendetta.
Yep, ults are coming up a little bit sooner, though, for Vendetta. They've got everything but the Frost Mages up. So, very importantly, that is Entomb. Their main engage condition, along with the Molten Breath, still available. So that's really a dangerous combo that PRE is going to have to play around.
Vendetta are doing a really good job with their very beefy frontline, just forcing their opponents back, and even though they lost 2 heroes, they're very comparable in number of Shrine Minions. We do have the Falling Sword coming in, not quite landing on the targets you'd expect, but a big 3-man Condemn is going to find a lot of damage onto Geozaris. Is very low. The Taz Dingo comes out, barely keeping Zeratul alive. We got another Rocket Ride, which is going to land really not on anything, but it still helped to secure the kill out onto Stukov, as well as Inigo Zap and Danielson are going to have to escape. Oh, and only one of them is going to, as Indigo Zap is going to fall as well. SCH is in here, probably with the Wraith form, to try and jump the Punisher. There you go, nicely done. Pulling it back, but this still looking like it could very easily be fort falling here, as you've got Zul'jin on single target siege damage.
Yeah, that's a lot of siege damage that Zul'jin can put out. Now the fort is going down. Greymane gets jumped on by the Punisher, but no follow-up there, as Leorc was in a good spot to deflect it. So 4 kills to 0 now, and a level and a half lead for Phoenix Rising Esports over Vendetta as they move closer and closer to being able to get level 16 by the time the next objective spawns.
Yeah, and importantly, I've already got the first half of the baseline Zul'jin quest, which gives him that extra 1.1 range, making him a lot safer, a lot easier to just sort of bob and weave around these relatively low engageability heroes on the side of Vendetta, so he can play a little bit more aggressive while at the same time being as safe or safer, depending on how he's feeling that team fight.
Yeah. Taking a look at the stacks report, there's not a single stacking talent on the side of Vendetta, which is, I think, a little on the rare side. On the side of Phoenix Rising Esports, we've got a gank onto Indigo Zap, but a nice little sidestep actually dodges the Imperius. There's 17 of 30 on the You Want Axe, and 27 globes on Laws of Hope, as well as Junkrat's level 4, which is kind of the high damage build on Junkrat, as opposed to going for the more CC-based build, which against this comp makes a lot of sense.
At the moment, we have Phoenix Rising taking their Bruiser camp, whereas Vendetta are kind of playing back and safe soaking for the most part. They are going to take their Bruisers a little bit later. Not even actually, they're just going to eat that trap and walk around, as it does look like Phoenix Rising are kind of sharking around, maybe thinking if they get that 16, they can make an invade happen if that camp is still on the board. Camp is still on the board. They have the 16, so they really are opting to just soak it out and put pressure in the other lanes.
Yeah, Johanna's at least grabbing vision on it, but the whole team could not be corralled soon enough to make anything happen. SCH not opting to rip the Entomb there. So Genji Boy does just go ahead and... yeah.
Yeah, Falling Sword is available. Really just would be trading cooldowns there, so probably not super worth. Batman looking for a flank here. We have Alfie and Genji Boy starting. He finds the stab onto Stukov. It's really the target that he's going to be looking for. Stukov down to half health already, but not going to get taken out. Batman is very low. Does get saved by the Brightwing. Huge bellowing roar there is going to find the kill out onto Brightwing. Batman is going to go down as well from the Stukov. Stukov getting the double kill and then disconnecting. You hate to see it.
His life
it really could. Oh, he avoids the rocket ride. Sick play by Geozaris.
Yeah, and Alfie could be slowed significantly as well. Geozaris trying to make something happen still. Indigo Zap coming in on the backside of this. Deathwing landing is going to make an extra force out the Tuzdingo and the guaranteed kill. And Ektar, that was a 3-for-1. Down 16 in a 4v5 scenario. What the heck just happened?
They engaged onto a target and didn't kill them. That's what happened, in short.
Yeah, that is true. But wow, that was
yeah, so they were behind a lot before that. They were down about 2 levels, including 16. They now have the 16, and I didn't mention it before, but this is the first time I've seen a Stukov not take virulent reaction in a long time. Instead, going into the pop and pustules, giving you the extra cooldown reduction, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, virulent is one of Stukov's biggest playmaker talents. I'm genuinely curious why. I would imagine there's a reason if there's just more heal throughput or whatever, but virulent is kind of insane.
Yeah,
and it is notable when somebody doesn't take it.
I like this play coming out from Phoenix Rising. They could not contest on the objectives, so they went and invaded their opponent's camp instead. Really unfortunate for Vendetta that they're having these frequent sort of miniature disconnects on their healer player, really sort of preventing them from getting as much value out of any situation as they would like. Big damage coming out onto Genji Boy. We did have the Entomb getting out and the counter engage in the form of the Falling Sword, and oh my gosh, that ult does so much damage, Ace.
It really does a shocking amount of damage. I think it was buffed not too long ago to deal more damage, and God, I mean, it's a lot of damage. Geozaris gets chased down with Batman on the flank, I believe. Zalgo Jack also going to be taken out, so 4 kills, 4-0 for PRE, and just like that, their 2-level lead is back, and they're going to be pressuring this mid wall.
I don't remember which content creator or even which game that I was that mentioned it, but there's a certain point where raw damage becomes worth it in its own right. Usually, especially at higher level Heroes of the Storm, it's more about the utility, the crowd control, the more flexible things that you can do with a lot of abilities over damage. But at a certain point, damage becomes enough, and Rocket Ride has seemingly gotten to that point.
That thing does 2,000 damage on impact, and it's...
Plus the total mayhem, if any of those hit.
Yeah, which can do... Oh, goodness. I'm going to attempt to... 5 grenades, each dealing 548 damage, so another possible 2,240 damage or so. That's ridiculous. Has so much damage that can go onto the
Speaking of so much damage, SCH has taken a ton of damage, and Johanna has now really turned online with that Heaven's Fury. We do have a nice engage, having the sort of do-it-yourself root combo coming out with the Zool and Stukov. They find the counter kill onto Brightwing, which is huge considering they're down 20, and they're taking... How do they keep getting away with it? I don't understand.
I don't know either. They keep finding kills late with the Deathwing damage. Here comes more Deathwing damage that is going to force Imperius to pop the Angelic Armaments. And Zul'jin, forced out of town, is now going to have to go and lick his wounds in the Hall of Storms, leaving this fort intact in the bottom lane. And the kills, even though traded for the most part, push Vendetta very close to level 20 as this objective comes up. So it is going to be a fair fight at Storm Talents.
They took arguably an even fight down level 18. I would argue they took that fight up because trading a Leoric is better than trading anyone on their team. Yeah, and they did it down 20. Like, fighting down 16 is one thing. Fighting down 20 is often considered suicide.
Yeah, but they're engaged upon and made it work. So yeah, level 20 is now online for both teams. The completion of the Spectral Scythe build, very important power spike here for Zool to cut the healing of almost everybody.
Yeah, we do have the, was that Burn Beneath My stood in the fire, giving the additional slow when Deathwing uses the baseline heroic ability that he gets. There's actually a lot of control on the side of Phoenix Rising Esports. Vendetta are having a hard time forcing their way in as Alfie just chunking out the damage numbers. Split Ends is just forcing all this control with the traps and the concussion mine as well, so that by the time Vendetta are in, they've got 2 members at half health, and SCH is going to get taken out immediately. Didn't even get to push buttons.
Yeah, these cannonballs are doing a ton of damage with 117 stacks. Zool is taken out as well now. Zalgo Jack dropping the Bellowing Roar to try and peel for the team, but it is not. It actually is going to be enough as both other members of PRE split down south, and Deathwing is able to escape into the sky, but the result of it is 2 kills over 2 Phoenix Rising Esports, and more importantly, a Mortar Punisher moving into this lane, sans keep directly onto the core.
Yeah, and, you know, people say often that, you know, the Mortar Punisher, the Arcane Punisher, they're not as good as the Frozen because of that whole building lockdown, but Mortar Punishers do a lot of damage to static targets, which most buildings are in fact static. We had the Greymane go down as well, so not going to have him for the defense, and that that core fell real fast, Ace.
Yeah, that's Junkrat Zul'jin levels of damage directly on the core. That was so much damage coming out, and that locks up game number 1 to Phoenix Rising Esports. That really felt like a much closer 5-14 game than the stats show at the end, because of all of the counter kills that Vendetta was able to get, but very importantly, they were completely unable to find any kills without them being counter kills. So none of their engages really were able to find any kind of purchase on the map, so the Entomb setups into the Deathwing damage just not quite able to get there.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention this at a point, but I never quite found the time. That once PRE found an advantage at around level 12 or 13 or so, it's obviously not over yet, but you start to see the writing on the wall as the late game team, which Vendetta certainly were with their composition, found an advantage before the late game. And that's never a spot you want to be as the other team. If you have the early game comp and you're losing and you have already lost your advantage by the mid game, that's a pretty monk-ass position to find yourself in. Yeah,
it's definitely agreed with that there, but wow. I mean, the level 20s from PRE are just so powerful there. I mean, Heaven's Fury is ridiculous, and Tuzdingo or the Amani resistance to heal is ridiculous. You've got the Brand, I think, from Imperius, which combos with the level 1 for percent damage against all those big chunky heroes, and then the Cannonball, which made it so difficult for Vendetta to move in. So.
All right. We have confirmation. Map number 2 is Cursed Hollow.
Picked up, it looks like, by Phoenix Rising Esports, which does not surprise me in the least.
Does it look like that? It says first draft to Team 2. There we go. Now it's Team 1.
Like I said, I could see the future.
Yeah, the writing on the wall, again.
Yeah, that's exactly how I drew it up.
I did not know you were such an artist, Ace. Why have you been holding out on us this whole time?
Yes. I mean, no, maybe. I have nothing to say for myself. Oh no.
I mean, to be fair, you have drawn fully 1/3 of my emotes.
Technically true, even though not true because I got Voodoo to do it. I got Voodoo to do that back in like season 3.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had the original design, but yeah, the only thing I just supplied him the design and said, "Here's what I would like to see," and he put it all together. So,
yo, speaking of things that people would like to see, what's the status of the fish?
Never.
I understand that no one in the chat will understand what I'm talking about, and that's fine. This isn't for you. That's what the cast is for. This is filling downtime.
Yeah. I just need to remember that it exists in my life as a thing I have to do.
Well, this is a reminder.
Thanks for reminding me. Thanks. I'm actually going to open a notepad file. LP fish. Done.
Big pog.
Oh, boy. I'm sure it'll be great.
Oh, man. Nobody expected this outcome in the prediction phase.
Nobody didn't expect it, though.
It's true. Everyone in chat was perfectly ambivalent towards the outcome of that first game.
Yeah. Make sure to wager your channel points. You should, if you want something to do on Twitch, find a way to name your channel points something else.
I should, but nothing has really come to mind.
Yeah. I originally was going to have mine as minerals, and then you could have had yours as Vespine gas, which would be really funny together. But I went with the Zerglings, because they're kind of adorable.
They really are. I don't do enough non-Heroes of the Storm content for people to understand that, above all else, I have a fascination with Mutalisks. So, alright, we should be just about done killing time. As anyone that saw the first game, Jazarus, which I am so sorry. You told me exactly how to pronounce it, and I'm still not probably doing it right. Getting some more follow bots. You'd love to see it. Yeah, there's a lot of disconnects, so restarted the PC. Hopefully that fixes the issue, and then yeah, nice. Hopefully we'll get a nice competitive game number 2, and then even a game number 3.
Always, our goal is game number 3 in best of 3 series. I mean, that's just kind of, that is the life that you want to live as a caster. I think there's been one time where I haven't, and that's because I had something to do immediately after, and I was really hoping for that quick 2-0. But otherwise, especially with teams that aren't in the division, and you just want to see some good games, always a big fan of game number 3.
I was hoping for a quick 2-0 yesterday, so we could maybe have casted a game afterwards, but
wow,
it was not.
We weren't casting; we were playing.
Well, that's what I was hoping for, a quick 2-0 so we could commence casting.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, Ice Cruncitadel Archons kicked our ass in game 1.
It crushed us. It wasn't even close. And then we played the slowest game in the history of the planet.
I mean, that happens. That's just kind of our style of winning games. We get ahead and we just grind the game to a halt. Because we don't know how to win games.
So we're the Terran mech of Heroes of the Storm.
We are Thorzane, full-on spoon Terrans.
Or we're Skytoss.
Oh god. No, even worse, we're
Skytoss against
Ana versus Fire Cake.
I'll one-up you. Neeb versus Scarlet.
That does not one-up. It was a 2+ hour game.
Yeah, that was Swarm Host, probably. Of course it was. I'm talking about average LOTV game length. Can you come up with a pair that is longer than Scarlet versus Neeb?
I mean, in half of those games, Neeb wins with an Adept push.
Yeah, that's after an hour the game, though.
That's true.
Anywho,
StarCraft aside, StarCraft, Dahaka getting picked up his first pick here.
Yeah, Hogger and Junkrat banned out. Junkrat, I can definitely see why. I think I've heard inklings that Junkrat is low-key busted in really high divisions. I have not paid attention enough to confirm this, but was played quite well in the previous game, and as PRE does, since they didn't lose, they don't have to change their ban strategy, and they go with the Diva and Nubarak.
I like the meta draft strategy coming out from Vendetta here, with the banning of Hogger and picking up of Dahaka. That is by far and away the most prioritized soul laners by PRE, so they have to do something different, which, forcing your opponents to do something different is often just generally good.
Yep. It's a good thing to not let them beat you at the same thing twice. Even if you're going to lose, make them do something different.
And you know what? Stitches is very different from the Johanna in the previous game, and having the Stukov complement that quite nicely.
Lucio Band's kind of interesting.
That is interesting. Especially on Cursed Hollow.
Yeah. I wonder if that indicates they're going into some kind of single target style build. Like, Lucio doesn't have a save to a Hook Gorge. Maybe a Hook Bile. Lucio's able to make a save, so that could be why. But like a Virulent Reaction's really hard to get a high five on because of the ticking silence puddle.
It's not as hard as you think. If they're like, if they're center, the activation range on the high five will often hit out over the Lurking Arm unless they go Growing Infestation on 7.
I was about to say, does that mean you have to go Growing Infestation against high five Lucio?
Or be skillful and position the Lurking Arm so that it's not centered on the enemy hero and it's actually off kilter so that it's closer to the Lucio to make it harder to cleanse out. There's a rest of a draft that's happened here since that Lucio ban.
Yeah, but that's cool analysis.
With the Greymane and the Leoric getting picked up, a lot of potential percent damage on the side of PRE. And Greymane is just an incredible hero for the map because the camps are important and far away from each other, so being able to take them quickly and with a low number of heroes is pretty darn important.
Yeah, and now for Vendetta, I mean, since we mentioned they've picked up a Muradin Sylvanas, which is... Sylvanas always very strong at being able to macro around the map, especially because the curses do absolutely nothing until they get 3. You can really split push off of that, and then the Anduin Cassia to finish it out. So no extra blinds for Cassia, but still a very strong hero. And I think Valkyrie gets a little bit of extra value in the corridor-style points that Cursed Hollow provides.
I believe Anduin, the second most played hero by... I'm just gonna stop saying this. By Vendetta. Second most played healer by Vendetta, at least in this current season. And
yeah.
I feel like Anduin is like a good, probably A tier healer, A or B. I guess depends on how you want to call the tier list exactly.
I would call him A against Stitches specifically.
Yeah, because you have probably the 2 most popular, Stukov and Brightwing, and I think Anduin is the next most standard healer after that.
Yeah. Also in the good corridor value, we do have Hanzo as the final pick, who I would imagine would be going into that scatter build, which can do a whole hefty chunk of damage as well. And if you can pick up the Giant Slayer at 16, that is a dead Muradin all the time.
Alright, spawning on the left-hand side in the Cyan trunks, it is Vendetta, with SCH playing the Muradin. Zalgo Jack 01 playing Dahaka, Danielson dancing it up on Sylvanas, Indigo Zap playing the Greek goddess Cassia, and Geosaurus playing the Anduin without scissors.
Oh boy, they need to be educated. And on the right side of the map, in the orange trunks, we do have Phoenix Rising Esports looking to take this home this game. We've got Alfie on Greymane, Genji Boy on Stitches, Batmang on Leoric, Split Two Ends playing Hanzo, and Shredded Wind on the Stukov.
So if you haven't heard this from me before, we're going to go ahead and explain what I meant by scissors. Anduin, when he uses his W, Divine Star, he throws out a projectile with his sword. If that projectile gets destroyed by the front wall before the game starts, he'll just hold his sword out forever until you die. It's really silly looking and it causes a lot of funny visual things. I call it running with scissors because he's just holding it out ridiculous-like. End PSA.
Yep. Ridiculous damage has been put out onto Danielson, who's tapped at the 42nd mark. Alfie also is going to go ahead, tap at 48. Genji Boy at 49, so lots of taps coming out, and Leoric is soaking up in the top lane and has a 3-minion lead on XP, which will be cut to 2 2/4 due to those small globes.
Yeah, we have actually Hanzo in the bottom lane to cover the XP against Dahaka, who is race car build, so he's going to be looking to try and get these speedy engagements with a little bit less self-sustained, but it's going to be kind of hard, I think, for him to contend with Redemption Hanzo, especially once he gets that quest completed.
Yeah, Redemption Hanzo can be actually a very big bully to melee range soul laners specifically, as the attack speed is very significant and the damage is really up there. And there's really no commitment from the Hanzo to make that happen. So, yeah, really an interesting matchup that's working out very well for Split Twins as Zalgo Jack drops under 200 health.
Yeah, and has to tap at the a really inopportune moment because it will very much be down for the objective. SCH and Batman kind of passing ships in the night as there is a rotation down from the Muradin so that they can try to get a little bit of extra clear pressure here, as most of their clear is on this Bruiser camp, which Zalgo Jack is doing a really nice job of warding for.
Yep. Phoenix Rising Esports not opting to go ahead and push with the Bruiser camp, though, so now Sylvanas and the rest of Vendetta have an opportunity to maybe make some push happen, but you know, that is up to them if they want to make that pressure happen.
Really nice timing on this camp getting picked up by Greymane. Will be pushing in the bot lane during the objective. Their opponents have a Dahaka in the appropriate lane, so he should be able to get a nice clear onto that, or at least pull one of them into the towers to get that cleared out, but still, it's going to force him to be there long enough to do it.
Yeah. And Dahaka's been getting absolutely chunked all game from this Hanzo.
Graymane's
and I think it
put a rotation down in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to put even more pressure and more split push out on this. I actually really like this decision, as Greymane should get a lot of siege damage done here. Zalgo Jack is going to try and burrow with the Dark Swarm for a little bit of damage. Meanwhile, in the top, Batman interrupted on the Mert, on the Leo, trying to get the channel. Indigo Zap goes in, actually, finds a lot of damage onto Stitches and Leoric, and with the 4v3, Vendetta look poised to take this first objective.
Yes, Tukonf was split out for the entirety of that. We have Genji Boy looking for an interrupt hook, but really good zoning potential coming out from SCH and Danielson. SCH does get pulled in, but gets pulled out almost as quickly.
Yeah, this is really... Dahaka's struggling down here in this bottom lane here. He's doing a good job grabbing the soak, but is consistently behind on the siege, just of the health bars and everything. Nice tongue, though, is going to force Shredded Wind out of the bush and take up an offensive position. Now the rotation from Indigo Zap is really going to even this up and maybe change the tide of this just a little bit.
It is, but Hanzo's coming in here to shift that right back again. Couldn't think of a good lunar pun there to go with the tides, but we do finally have a nice 4-person rotation into the bottom lane. Danielson actually taking the worst part of that engagement. A lot of damage coming out from the Alfie just there, and with as low as they are and as slow as they are, it is going to be maybe difficult for them to contest this without SCH taking an inordinate amount of damage for the attempt.
I mean, he is a Muradin, so I mean, that is a capability of making it happen. This is the tough interrupt, but Indigo Zap does get it with the Thunderbolt.
He's taking a ton of damage from these interrupts is the thing.
Yeah, SCH is now no longer trading effectively on health and is taken out. The Leoric pressure became just a bit too much. Now Indigo Zap in a little bit of a tough spot. Is going to not be hooked. That's instead Gizeris taking the damage into place, but they find the kill onto Hanzo as well. Sylvanas doing a lot of damage to Batman, and he gets taken out, and these fights just keep getting scrappier, and they keep going well when they get scrappy for Vendetta.
Yeah, a lot of Uno reverse cards coming out in this game, but the thing that needs to be mentioned is that whole time, Alfie was in the bottom lane. He's got more than half of this fort down already.
Yeah, that's really a lot of advantage coming out for Phoenix Rising Esports in the siege damage department. And it reflects as they're up half a level and pick up their level 10s just a little bit sooner than Vendetta, who should have them for the objective, but you know, they'll have to soak it out for just a little bit longer.
We do have the 10s available for both sides. We've got the Cursed Bullet. We do have the Gorge, which I think is probably one of the ones that was most in question. The Flailing Swipe and Tomb And still holding on Hanzo. Definitely expect to see the Dragon
Arrow.
Right? Arrow? I never remember the names.
Dragon Arrow and Dragon Strike.
Yeah, you definitely the Dragon Arrow, not the Double Danger Snakes. Although SCH taking quite a bit of damage here. Zago Jack is going to get interrupted. A nice Light Bomb combo is going to find the Genji boy there. This team fight is very split. Alfie is just the lowest here. Is not going to go down quite yet. And is not going to go down at all by the look of things. And the first fall is actually the Sylvanas, although split ends is very low. Shredded Wind also very low, but they're barely able to escape, which is going to allow them to tap and recontest on this up a hero.
That's disgusting. Phoenix Rising Esports got 3 people out with under 250 health at 3 different occasions. The Stukov, Sylvanas, and the Greymane all barely escaped here. That is ridiculous to stay. Now Zalgo Jack trying to find a kill, but he's going to have to eat some essence. Leoric escapes with another 300 health as Anduin takes the fall. SCH trying to whoop one out. Cassia is taken out. These razor-thin margins of this fight have tilted this heavily in the favor of Phoenix Rising Esports, and they're now going to look at their opponent's boss.
Yeah, they're looking to try and make something happen onto Alfie here, but just not quite finding it. Instead, just the best they can do at this point, it feels like it's just pull out and reset, and then eventually clear this boss coming through bottom lane. Yeah, I can't overemphasize what you said, though. Like, so many heroes were so close to dying, but they did an incredible job of just minimizing the damage that they were taking, splitting out so that it could spread across the whole team, which allows the big, chunky Stukov heals to come in and just barely keep everyone topped off alive and just win the team fight over time. Even Alfie had actually full back during that team fight, meaning making it a 4v4 for a very long time, because Sylvanas was dead. Crazy good team fights coming out from both teams, but Phoenix Rising taking the better end of it.
Yep, they sure are, and they're also going to take this top boss with the tribute spawning in the top lane right where they just were, and they're up level 13. If this is your momentum point in the game, or if there is a momentum point in the game, this is it. Ooh, they're going to intentionally delay the curse, let the boss walk up. And so now it is all push a clock here in the top lane.
Yeah, a nice hook coming out onto SCH as he'd already popped the Dwarf Toss, I believe. He does have his level 10 Stormbolt Piercing, so he's able to get a double stun and get out of there. Batman coming in for a nice engage onto Zalgo Jack, but is not going to escape as the damage was there from Alfie and split to ends. Really nicely done by the two of them. They're going to take their opponent's camp, knock down the sidewall, and maybe try to find another kill leading into this keep.
Yeah, they've got a good opportunity for it there. Curse Bullet comes out and lands, I don't think, on anybody for any significant damage, but Curse still up for 30 seconds. Boss chilling at over 80% HP still. This top keep has been annihilated, and this might just go core, Ektar. There's the Gorge onto the Muradin. Silence Puddle coming out. Dwarf Toss not able to be used. Neither was the pull from Anduin. Zalgo Jack now taken out as well. Boss pushes onto core, up 5v3. Indigo Zap gets hooked in and takes a bunch of damage. Is going to have to retreat as the shields break on the core.
Yeah, not really much more we can say about that. It was an incredible sequence of teamfights coming out from PRA, and that's going to secure them the 2-0 victory.
Wow, that went from, again, that game was decided on those 250 health margins. Because that led into the boss, into the curse, with the boss, into the push to the core. Done. That's how close these games can be.
That is what they call a snowball.
That is, in fact, and I didn't even get to mention it in-game, so I'll say it now. Another no virulent reaction game, Ektar. Poppin' Pustules again, picked by Shredded Wind.
Yo, someone...
and this is the other healer, so both of them opt for it.
I'm not getting talents for a bunch of people. That's just because they didn't take them, or...
Yeah, if you're talking about the 13s, yeah, there are only 5 level 13s taken.
All right, someone report split to ends for not taking a 13, because they definitely had the time for it.
Yeah, it was very necessary too, clearly.
Right, I was going to message Alfie, but didn't pop up as an option. There we go. Let's see if we can get a post-game interview.
Yeah, really good job, though. Yeah, lobby 2. I got a DM from Genji Boy.
Oh, nice.
Lobby 2, Ektar.
Sounds good.
That's...
Oh, my bad.
We don't know who has caster privileges.
I'm pretty sure half the server has caster privileges from at any point expressing a desire to pick up casting.
At any point, yeah. True.
But congratulations on your 2-0 victory over Vendetta tonight.
Thank you, thank you.
Batman says Split never takes talents. It's actually impossible for him to take talents. I think you guys were close to level 15 and he still hadn't taken a 13 at the end of that game too.
Sounds like Split, sounds like him.
Alright, so it felt like both of those games, but especially the second one, were close right up until they weren't. To be frank, I don't watch a lot of Heroic. Is that the way that games tend to go in the higher tiers?
Yeah, so in the higher tiers, the early game, there's not a lot of brawling. People are trying their best to get lane advantage and clear waves, get camps. The only time they really brawl is when they know for sure they have an advantage, right? So that first game, they had an advantage because there was no way we were dealing with Deathwing and Leoric with our comp very easy early game, right? Especially since we're waiting for Zul'jin stacking. And so we had to play very passively until that late game scaling and tens for us to come online. So we knew going into game 1 we were gonna lose, so our best option was to just keep up on the macro pressure as best we could and then turn online late game and turn it around.
And I gotta say, it worked out for you. Ending off of the first objective, you weren't really behind in XP, and as soon as 10s hit, you just kind of started killing them to death.
Yep, that was the plan. So that might have been why the game was, as you said, close until it wasn't, right? We were both games we were waiting until 10s mostly for our comp to come online, and that being the case, we play passively, get what we can, and we have to play smart. And so it plays into what you said. We had to play the early game as perfectly as possible, and then once we came online, we took it over.
All right. The other, I think, most telling portion of the two games was that fight over the bottom left side curse, where basically the whole team got to about a collective 1,500 hit points, but nobody on your team died. How do you orchestrate people not dying that well?
So it's really on the healer and the tank. As you saw, we split up. And so when split ups happen like that, it's really on the tank and the healer to keep us alive. And if the tank and the healer go separate ways, it actually kind of helps to where I can still provide a meat shield and take damage. As you saw for Alfie, I was stepping in front of people, trying to hook and slow them from getting him. And then I'm sure Shredded was keeping people just barely topped up enough to get out. And then the second we were out, we all tapped. We had the big Stukov heal, and we were pretty much all back to half health, ready to engage on them, who was down 1.
Okay, so what you're saying is, since I'm the healer player and it's not my fault, I can blame my tank for when I die.
Yes.
Excellent.
We already did that. We're already a heroic.
we're coming for you, Sir Noble. Alrighty. Ace, do you have anything for the games in particular? They were very interesting to watch, for sure.
The only question I have is on your behalf of sorts. Why, and maybe Shredded Win in the chat can help as well. Why is Virulent not picked as much? Like, as far as my non-healer perspective is from, Virulent is basically like Stukov's big playmaker auto-pick talent because it's incredible. Was the nerf to 1.5 second root that much where popping pustules is really insane, or what?
The main reason popping pustules is good now is because of reactive ballista spores. Because you can get the slow onto their entire team. You wait for it to tick, and then you pop it, and all of them get that big bonus damage, and then it re-spreads to the entire team again. And if you time it right, I've seen some Stukovs where they land a W on a couple people, get the heal out, spread, and then 16 they have the thing where after you pop it the Q still stays, and so the combo right
Yeah.
is to spread
Box
the
hopper.
heal, W people, pop it, then do reactive ballista spores, pop it again after the timer, and you just have massive damage coming out, and slows, big heals all at once, and it's just so hard to deal with.
Alright, so it sounds like
Yeah.
it's a more team fight oriented ability, whereas Virulent I mostly see either as incredible follow-up CC or when you're more pokey and you're not going to have as many people around you all the time.
Yeah, it's more used for setup and follow up, where reactive ballista spores can do the same thing, and
Yeah.
you can still provide all the slow you need.
Stukov is a
Stukov
weird
is-
mage.
Yeah. I mean,
Yo,
it's just
if you
chain bomb
think
style damage.
if you want to see Stukov mage, go play StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. There's a mission where you get to control Stukov, and he's kind of a boss.
He's incredible. You summon stuff, and then you have a big Q that does damage. Boom. Mage Stukov.
So looking ahead to next week, y'all are playing against Big Push Power. Is that a team you're familiar with?
No, I have not heard of them before.
Final Stats, C2D2, Sovereign, Mr. TTO, Mike, and Alpha Rack.
Actually, now that you have, I actually do remember them. I'm not good with team names.
Either
But,
am I. That's why I thought I'd go through the team.
Yeah, I do know Final Stand, and I know Alpharak. We've actually scrimmed that team, and we played them in the HCI as well. So I actually am familiar with them. I just forgot their name. They're a good team, and we've actually been looking forward to them from the start. Final Stand played with us for a while as well, so it's going to be an interesting one.
All right, then I guess I have only one more sort of high-level question for you, relatively compared to a lot of these post-game interviews, which is, how do you play against a team you've been scrimming against?
The best way to look at it is if you've already played them, they know your strategies, they know how you're gonna they know how you're gonna play, and you know how they're gonna play. And the best way is either to mix it up, or pretty much just play perfectly.
Better for him.
Plan around their strategies and just plan to play against it.
Yeah, we've scrimmed one of the teams in our division at least twice. We've got a third one planned for next week, and we play them like week 9 or so. So we've had the chats where it's like, do we do something we've never done against them in scrims, or do we just do something we know works in general?
Yeah, I'd say from personal experience, if you've beaten them in scrims, running back the same comps is not a terrible idea. The only thing is in draft is watch if they start countering your comp. That's where you kind of might want to switch it up just a little bit, change maybe one or two of the key pieces. But yeah, it's very tough to to play against people you scrim against, because you know for sure they have info on you.
Yeah, for sure. Ace, you got anything else for the Q&A portion of the interview?
I do not.
All right, then we're gonna give it back over to you, Genji Boy, for any shoutouts that you want to give.
Alrighty. Just first off, I want to correct this for everyone. It's Gingy Boy.
Gingy
And
Boy.
I'm not
sorry.
targeting you guys. I've heard a lot of casters mess up my name, so I'm just clarifying it. And then shout out to my team. It's been great season so far. We're starting to finally kick it into gear. Shout out to NGS for running such a great tournament, and then shout out to you guys for casting the game. We always love getting casted, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you for coming by, Gingy Boy. Sorry for messing that up for
Oh, good.
the entire cast.
VOD ruined. Yeah, VOD ruined. Sorry.
It's not the first time.
I
We'll remember it in the
almost certainly
future.
won't be the last, but at least we'll try
Yeah.
not to mess it up again.
Alrighty. Well, you guys have a good night, and I'll see you.
You as well.
All right, you too.
Well, we didn't get a game 3, but I do think we had a couple of interesting games at least.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, game 2 is very interesting until it immediately ended. And game 1, I thought there was some really interesting stuff to find with that bulky comp against what I think was a really pivotal Zul'jin pick at the end to really stack up and make that late game work out. So, yeah, between that and the Junkrat really turned on the pressure as the late game drew nearer in game number 1. So, really solid drafts coming out, especially from ERE, Phoenix Rising Esports.
Yeah, and you could definitely see that it felt like, even though it was a 2-0, and even though the second game wasn't especially close, it still felt like two teams that could easily take games off of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I am doing a little bit of runtime padding, because I know that there's a cast that's supposed to be happening any minute now. I've seen the coin tosses for it, but Raka hasn't got the stream started yet. So stick around for hopefully just a second. We'll be looking to get rated on over there just as soon as she goes live. Raka, if for some reason you're still in the chat, please start your stream. But looking ahead, I don't know.
Start it up. Oh, yeah, we did we even do a prediction for game 2? No.
Did we not?
Well,
I totally meant to.
Mission failed.
I don't know if we've gotten two predictions in a row for any stream this season.
I think we did it for one of them. We're not very good at this.
No, we definitely are. We do okay. We do okay talking. We do moderately okay for like stream production and stuff. But as far as like the predictions, absolutely the worst.
Oh gosh, people are like gambling addicted to being like, "Where's the predictions?"
I love predictions too, though. I'm the problem.
Majesty is the one that needs to remind us all the time that we need predictions. So,
shout out to the rocket ride. No kidding, that ability is so strong.
Oh, it's crazy. It does like 3 trillion damage.
Yo, how much?
And it doesn't have fall off.
How much do you think they'd have to buff Pyroblast for it to be that impactful?
I actually wonder how much more damage it does than Pyro. Let's hail, dust, talent.
There's almost certainly a point where the raw damage of Pyroblast beats the raw damage of Rocket Ride just because it has better scaling.
Better scaling, yeah.
Yeah. If you were unaware, Pyroblast actually gets better the later the game goes, because while most things in the game scale at 4%, including most heroes' health pools, Pyroblast actually scales at 5%, so the longer the game goes, the more damage it does relative to everyone else's health pool.
So just for your reference, Pyroblast is slightly over 800 damage at level 0.
Okay.
Rocket Ride does 935. That is a chunky amount of damage. It is 16% more damage than a Pyroblast. Raka, go live already.
I could definitely make a spreadsheet to figure out the exact level that Pyroblast starts to deal more damage. I'm not going to do that.
You don't even need to do that. You could just do that on Heroes Fire.
Ooh, Heroes Fire does the level-based scaling for you?
Sure does.
At
level 20, Pyro does. It should update.
She's live! Let's go!
Alright, we did it.
They don't tell the whole truth.
We did
It still doesn't appear in Raid Channel. How dare you?
Oh no.
Oh, wait, I have to mute that because stream's gonna start hearing her advertisement coming through.
Oh no.
Because I'm only moderately okay at the stream production stuff, as mentioned before.
Yep. Alright, Akhtar, the magic level is 16. At level 16, Pyroblast does 0.05 more damage.
Hey, I've got the raid button going, so at least people are going to be starting to get ready for that stuff and whatnot. As it is, that is us signing off. Hopefully we'll be back, probably not this weekend, but I'd like to get another one early next week and maybe do a double cast next week, heading up maybe like a Thursday or something.
Would be cool.
Provided we don't have a game, but we probably have a games. Thank you everyone for coming by, and yeah, I'd love to see us in the future. We will see you next time. If I can bring me to the end screen.